Welcome! We made it to 2026. I hope the new year has been treating you well and you have managed to give yourself a rest. This past year of reading has felt like a journey, not just through stories but through different versions of myself. Some month I was devouring books back to back, disappearing into epic Asian fantasy worlds and lyrical, deeply emotional literature. And other month I struggled to pick up a single page. And now, looking back at this journey, the reading slumps, the late night chapters, the books that changed my perspective, I'm excited to share the ones that truly stayed with me. So let's dive in. So I would like to start with a book that is truly exceptional. The book that has shaken me up. The book that I keep thinking about. And that definitely goes to the best books of 2025. I would like to introduce you to Boys with Sharp Teeth. I was looking into dark academia genre for a while, and I couldn't find a book that I truly liked. This Secret History, Babel, 𝗧𝗶𝗸 didn't quite work for me. And now I finally found a book in this genre that became my new favorite. Prose here is so exquisite that I had the same fear as when I read Confession. I feared that I wouldn't be able to read other books because the writing is so peerless that other books would never influence me so much and feel just mediocre. So after finishing this striking story, I didn't know what I possibly can read next. I just couldn't believe that was a debut novel. This is a story set in the haunting world of an elite boarding school, brimming with secrets, guilt, and shadows. Our protagonist Maureen arrives under a false name. She is not here to study, she's here to find out what had happened to her cousin. I must say, this isn't just a dark academia, it's Gothic. Every hallway creaks, every mirror hides something. The writing immerses you into a world where grief and mystery soak through the walls. Maureen's quest for the truth becomes tangled in obsession, doubt, vengeance. If you like neat resolutions or happy endings, this one you might find unsettling. But if you love the books that haunt you, this one truly stays. It's a dark mirror held up to grief, revenge, and the blurry line between love and destruction. I would even say this book doesn't just bite, it leaves a scar. Maureen's obsessive drive for revenge, simmering attraction, and mistrust keeps you on edge. This is a story that is dark, unpredictable, and infused with emotional obsession. If you're drawn to eerie, reflective, morally grey reads with a supernatural undertone, this atmospheric story is definitely worth diving in. Also, with this book I have discovered that for me morally grey characters are the most addictive to read, because almost everyone in this book are not perfect, to say the least, and in real life also no one is perfectly good or completely evil, and morally grey characters reflect that. They make mistakes, they do questionable things, but they also love, protect, and try. And somehow that makes them feel real, more than any hero ever could. They are no saints or monsters, they are human. They fight with themselves as much as they fight with the world. We root for them even when we shouldn't. We justify their actions even when they cross the line. Personally for me, they have the best arcs. Redemption, corruption, revenge, survival. Morally grey characters don't just go on journeys. They become the journey. We read to see what parts of themselves they will lose and what they find in the ash. They are layered, they are complicated, they are human. They don't ask for love, but somehow we give it. They don't need saving, but we still hope they will be saved. I think they are the reason we feel the story rather than read it. If you ever loved a character that made you question everything, drop their name in the comments and read something that makes you uncomfortable. There are some books that just don't age quietly. They linger, they provoke, and they continue to unsettle readers long after they were written. Our next book gained a massive popularity when it was published. The Sorrows of Satin became a publishing sensation, outselling works by authors like H.G. Wells and Oscar Wilde. Mary Corelli was one of the first female authors to achieve mass market success, and The Sorrows of Satin helped cement her reputation as a major figure in Victorian late literature. A novel published in 19th century that feels strangely, almost uncomfortably relevant even now. We follow a struggling author who was given an extraordinary opportunity, immense wealth, influence, and access to high society, all through a mysterious benefactor. And this benefactor is Lucio, a charismatic, unsettling figure who gradually reveals himself to be more than he appears. Through Lucio, novel reimagines Satan not as a monstrous villain, but as a tragic, intellectual, and emotionally complex being. The story unfolds as a moral journey. As the protagonist gains success and privilege, he starts to lose something far more important: his integrity, compassion, and spiritual clarity. The novel explores inner corruption, how power changes people, how vanity grows quietly, and how easily morality can be compromised when comfort replaces conscience. Lucio is not loud or grotesque. He's cultured, wounded, sarcastic, and deeply bitter about humanity. His sorrows come from witnessing human hypocrisy, cruelty, and self-deception over centuries. This portrayal forces us to confront uncomfortable questions. Is evil always obvious? Can intelligence and beauty disguise corruption? Is humanity responsible for its own downfall? Satan in this novel becomes a mirror, reflecting human arrogance back at us. Mary Corelli was deeply critical of materialism, shallow success, and performative morality. And she wrote all this at a time when society was obsessed with status and appearances. Sounds familiar? The book asks whether progress without ethics is a progress at all. Despite being over a century old, The Sorrows of Satin feels eerily modern, and this novel warns us what happens when we mistake external achievement for inner worth. It's meaningful because it doesn't offer easy answers. It challenges us to examine our own values, ambitions, quietly, uncomfortably, and honestly. Maybe some readers can find it heavy or theatrical, but that intensity is part of its power. It feels like a preaching, a confession, and a warning all at once. The Sorrows of Satin is meaningful because it asks a question many stories avoid. What is the price of abandoning your soul? And is it ever worth paying? If you are drawn to books that explore morality, philosophy, and the darker corners of human ambition, this one is unforgettable. For me, it's the first story for a long time where the main character is so awful, but I still loved the story, which definitely will stay with me for ages. One of the best books of 2025, and it's Devil Venerable also wants to know. I believe that at least once you have read a fantasy novel and thought, why are the characters making such terrible decisions? This Chinese fantasy asks the same question and turns it into something hilarious, clever, and surprisingly thoughtful. Our main character, the Devil Venerable himself, is a powerful demonic leader ruling over the cultivation world. He's feared, respected, and practically untouchable. But instead of focusing on conquest or destruction, The novel starts with one simple question. Why do people in romance novels make such terrible decisions? One day, our demonic leader discovers a book that predicts the future. And according to this book, his fate and the fate of many people around him is tragic. Not because of enemies or war, but because of romantic misunderstandings, blind devotions, and emotionally irrational choices. Instead of accepting this destiny, our main character does something unexpected. He starts questioning the story itself. Why do characters sacrifice everything for love? Why do people refuse to communicate? Why is tragedy treated as noble? And most importantly, can the ending be changed if people start thinking differently? We have a powerful protagonist with a fresh twist. Many Asian fantasy novels follow underdog protagonists who grow stronger over time. Devil Venerable also wants to know flips this trope completely. He's powerful, feared, respected, and already at the very top of cultivation world. There is no journey from weak to strong here. He's already won that battle. So the main character starts at the top, powerful and intelligent. What makes him unique is that growth is emotional and intellectual, not physical. For new readers, this removes the pressure of learning complex power systems and focusing on character, humor, and ideas. Our main character is a villain who acts like a reader. He feels less like a typical villain and more like a reader trapped inside a novel. He analyzes events, questions motivations, and refuses to accept that's just how the story goes as an answer. Watching a powerful character apply reason to an emotionally chaotic world is both satisfying and entertaining, and it turns the usual fantasy formula upside down. This is the only one book for the last time in which main character was making smart choice, dealing with less mighty and smart characters. He was reasonable, which, let's be honest, we rarely see in fantasy books, that it makes you give him a standing ovation for his restraint. The humor in the story is smart and self-aware. One of the biggest reasons this novel is so enjoyable is its humor. The story playfully mocks common fantasy and romance tropes, dramatic misunderstandings, extreme self-sacrifice, and love that somehow excuses terrible behavior. Even if you are new to Chinese fantasy, the jokes land because they're rooted in common sense and logic. You find yourself laughing because the protagonist says exactly what the reader is thinking. Chinese fantasy can sometimes feel overwhelming due to detailed cultivation systems, sect politics, and law. But this novel keeps things refreshingly simple. The world building exists, but it never overshadows the story. Concepts are introduced naturally and only when needed, allowing new readers to ease into the genre without constantly stopping to take notes. It balances comedy with meaning. While the novel is funny, it's not shallow. Underneath the humor, it explores ideas about free will, emotional responsibility, and whether suffering is truly romantic or just avoidable. The balance between comedy and reflection is what makes this story memorable. Oh, the next one, The Hounding. It's a debut Gothic novel set in 18th century England, which explores the mistreatment of women and the dangers of being different in small, superstitious community. We follow 5 sisters living in the isolated village, rumored to transform into dogs at night. What's interesting is that the story is told through villagers' perspectives, but never the sisters' own. So we don't truly know, are those rumors true or just superstitions? This is a novel that slowly creeps under your skin and stays there. This isn't a fast, flashy read. It's a quiet, unsettling one. This book really kept me tense. It's like the author took my thoughts from my head regarding the alcohol, violence, and mindlessly following the crowd, and just wrote it down. There are some scenes that shaken me to my core, but they are in the story not just to scare you or shock you. These scenes are necessary for us to understand the characters, what beliefs we are dealing with in this village, and make us analyze the consequences of such beliefs. In my opinion, one of the strongest aspects of the Hounding is its atmosphere. There is a heavy, almost claustrophobic mood to this book. You often feel like something is wrong even when nothing obvious is happening. And that slow burning discomfort is what makes the reading experience so immersive. This is the kind of book where what's unsaid matters as much as what's written. The Hounding in the title works on multiple levels. It's not just about being chased. It's about being haunted by thoughts, memories, and choices that refuse to let go. This makes the novel feel introspective as well as unsettling. The tension comes from anticipation, not action, from the feeling that something is wrong long before anything actually happens. That kind of psychological fear is far more harder to write and far more lasting. You probably enjoy The Hounding if you like dark atmosphere, psychological tension, and the stories that makes you feel uneasy in the best possible way. This book is for you if you enjoy slow burn tension, unsettling atmospheric storytelling, and books that focus on mood over action. The Hounding is a novel that doesn't shout, it whispers, and somehow those whispers feel louder than screams. It's a story about being followed, pressured, and psychologically cornered, and about what that does to a person over time. Long after the last page, the atmosphere stays with you. The novel doesn't over-explain, it leaves a space for the reader to interpret events, motivations, and meanings. The next one, the book that is helping me survive the winter, because the winter is my least favorite season. And this is 𝗧𝗶𝗸 We have ancient China setting, a mysterious, unshakable, and stoic monk who doesn't remember his past but is skilled in exorcism. He meets a former dragon, arrogant and snarky, who is currently in a form of a paper doll because he has been severely injured and his true body, true form, is paralyzed and unable to move. However, he also can transform into a human. We also have a gentle ghost who acts as a companion. He's quite funny due to his fear of other ghosts. They travel across the country, encountering cursed villages, theatrical ghosts, and sinister sorcerers. Try to unravel the mysteries of their past and reclaim their former glory. I adored our dragon's snarky personality. As a powerful former dragon, now trapped in a weak paper body, he uses snark as a defense mechanism and a way to maintain his dignity. Even when he's just a paralyzed paperman, he speaks with the confidence and happiness of a divine being, often bossing around the monk and the ghost. He's easily annoyed and frequently uses sarcastic or biting remarks to express his irritation with his situation or the aloofness of the monk. He is often described as shameless or chaotic, making cutting jokes even in dangerous or embarrassing situations. To avoid appearing vulnerable, the hilarious internal monologues and the sparring between the main trio is such a great addition to this story. For me, what makes 𝗧𝗶𝗸 so powerful is its emotional honesty. The author doesn't romanticize suffering or turn pain into something dramatic or glamorous. Instead, the story moves slowly, quietly, almost like real life. The characters aren't idolized heroes. They're flawed, vulnerable, sometimes contradictory, and that complexity makes them feel incredibly real. The writing is introspective and atmospheric. Instead of relying on big plot reveals, the novel focuses on inner worlds, thoughts, fears, memories, and the fragile hope that maybe, despite everything, the healing is possible. You can easily connect to this story because it speaks of universal experiences. The longing to be seen, the fear of being hurt again, and the courage it takes to let someone in. On a deeper level, 𝗧𝗶𝗸 explores questions like, what does love look like when the both people are wounded? Can understanding replace judgment? And how do we carry our past without letting it destroy our future? The novel suggests that love isn't about rescuing someone. It's about standing beside them, even when the darkness doesn't disappear. That quiet, compassionate message is what gives the book its depth, and why so many readers describe it as healing, painful, and beautiful all at once. For me, 𝗧𝗶𝗸 isn't just a story, it's an experience. It lingers with you long after the last page, reminding us that every person carries invisible battles, and sometimes the smallest gesture of care can change lives. I won't talk much about our next books because we have already discussed them in other videos, so I will just briefly mention the titles. Breath of a Dragon definitely goes to the best books of 2026. I have a whole reading vlog dedicated to this incredible story. I will just say that if you love Bruce Lee and his philosophy, you adore martial arts stories, this one is for you. The book is written by Shannon Lee, Bruce Lee's daughter, and Fonda Lee, great fantasy writer. So they infused the book with Bruce Lee's philosophy, great martial arts scenes, and magic. The Summer House. We discussed this book when I was looking for a 5-star story. So if you are interested in architecture, in Japanese culture, and want to see not just life in Tokyo, but in a small Japanese village near volcano, this is your story. The next one, we also have discussed Thousand Autumns. The martial arts scenes here were peerless, but it's not about action, it's very reflective, comforting, with incredible characters. I highly recommend you if you love Asian fantasy, martial arts, reflective novels, and I think this book is capable to help you through really overwhelming times. So I really hope at least one of these stories will make your 2026 shine brighter.